Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Katona, and I want to thank you for attending Financial Fridays, aired every Friday on International Broadcast Media. And check us out. Let everybody know that this channel exists and subscribe. And I just want to tell you that it's an honor today to have two gentlemen as guests on our show. These two gentlemen, we have James Boyd and John Nelson, two individuals that have very something in common, and that is that number one, they are professionals in their own right, and we'll be collaborating to help our huge market pool of people in the United States that will be retiring one day. And prior to retirement, Mr. Boyd is a very innovative person, and Mr. Nelson is as well. So that's why having the opportunity to collaborate and work together to build another success story, and there's many success stories of both these gentlemen have looking at their profiles. You know, Jim being in the professional and extensive management world in sales and consulting for many years, and creating products that generate in excess of 1 million of reoccurring annual fee revenue for his current employer, and just being able to create paths for people in our country to work on, to be able to feel comfortable with whatever the outcomes of the designs that Mr. Boyd has created. And then on the other side, we have Mr. John Nelson from touring, and they work somewhat, well, literally hand in hand to develop the opportunity and process going forward for our Retire Right partners that Mr. Boyd is a part of. So without further ado, I would love to bring on both of these gentlemen and go through some interesting questions that I have for both. Without further ado, there's Mr. Boyd.
Hello.
Hey, fellas, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Excellent. It's an honor having you both on the Financial Friday show. And I was just telling the world a little bit about both of you. You know, it's really difficult sometimes and to describe individuals that can collaborate, you know, because everybody has strengths and weaknesses, you know, all of us do. And the great thing is you guys have taken your strengths and put your strengths together to create something that's going to make a huge difference in portfolios throughout our country. What we really need to have going forward, rather than just a lot of fluff that's been out there and things that haven't been working and proven that they haven't been working, to things that I think that you guys can really make a difference in people's lives. So I guess I'll get started with talking to Mr. Boyd about, you know, I have to say I've known Jim for a few years now. You know, we've worked on some projects together, and just a smart man. And you know, we've stayed in contact with each other. And this came out of left field. One day I called Jim up and just asked him how he was doing, and he's like, "Mark, I got something going on right now that I think is going to make a huge difference in our, you know, what we're trying to accomplish." I said, "Well, Jim, I want to get you on our show, and I want to talk about these things, because number one, if we can reach out to the United States through live stream TV, and then actually go out to a total of about 122 countries, it's pretty unique, because the rest of the world always likes to know what's happening inside of the United States. And having you guys on here, I think, is going to make a world of difference." So, Jim, I'm going to ask you, why another fund? So what's really unique about the funds that you're creating?
Well, Mark, it is the mission of Retirement Right Partners that see all working people have the resources they need for financial security and retirement. Fulfilling that mission does not mean giving people a different investment, another new investment. It means giving them a better one, in my opinion. And Retire Right partnering with Turing Technology and using the systems they have to create the Retire Right family of funds has created that better investment. So people can have a more comfortable and secure retirement. And I'm going to let John, who is more qualified than I am, certainly in this area, to delve in a deeper view and give you and your viewers a clearer picture of what we are doing to create a better investment and fulfill the mission of Retire Right.
Awesome.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Jim. And thanks, Mark, for having me on the show. Very excited. Turing has introduced a really innovative way of managing active funds and has tapped into, artificial intelligence and machine learning. And maybe it would make sense if I could just take a minute to sort of give a brief overview of how Turing's Ensemble Active Management, I'm going to refer to it as EAM during this presentation, and that's what we're working with Retire Right on, EAM models. And how is that being used to build better investment portfolios? So just starting out, we all know artificial intelligence, machine learning, two buzzwords, and it really touches virtually every aspect of all our lives in hundreds of ways, from helping us to find, the fastest route from point A to point B, to helping our doctors, physicians diagnose and treat patients. These are just two examples there are literally hundreds of examples of artificial intelligence and machine learning touching our lives in really very positive ways. So Turing technology uses these advances in both artificial intelligence and machine learning with the sole objective of improving the performance of our actively managed investment portfolios. So how is this done? So the key machine learning technology tool which Turing applies is called Ensemble Methods. And I would encourage people, if you want to dive deeper into the topic of ensemble methods, because it's actually a very interesting one, just Google it. And there's lots and lots and lots of information online about ensemble methods, which is actually a subset of machine learning. It's a well-established process. And what it does is it actually increases the predictive accuracy and stability of any predictive model. So a predictive model is just a model which attempts to predict future behavior. This can be hurricane prediction. When you look at those squiggly lines approaching the coast, those are predictive models. Netflix tries to predict what movies you're going to like based on the movies that you've watched in the past. Self-driving car technology is always trying to predict, should I take this right-hand turn or should I go straight? Should I stop? All of those are examples of predictive models. And mutual funds, when you think about it, mutual funds are predictive models as well. They're just a basket of securities that managers have picked and put together, and the objective is to outperform a benchmark. So it really is, in essence, a predictive model. What Ensemble Methods does is it is a science, again, within machine learning, and what it does is combine multiple independent predictive models, all targeting a common objective, and it looks for consensus across those predictive models in order to build what is really a superior predictive model. So a basic example is the hurricane prediction, all of these, you have the European model, you have the American model, you have all these different models, and they all use different algorithms and different predictive processes in order to try to predict where the hurricane's going. You look for consensus across those different processes. And by building on consensus, you actually get a better predictive capability than any of those underlying models. So with respect to mutual funds, Turing applies ensemble methods on behalf of its clients by allowing our clients, such as Retire Right in this case, to pick 12 funds, 12 mutual funds that they think are best within a particular asset class. So Retire Right, for example, has a large cap growth ensemble model. So they came to us, they gave us 12 of the best large cap growth mutual funds that they could pick out of the entire universe of large cap growth models. What then Turing does is we have a system, a replication system, which allows us to see inside of those mutual funds, allows us to look at the securities within the mutual funds on a virtual live basis and extract those holdings and weights. So what we do is extract those predictive engines from those 12 mutual funds, which are all independent of one another. What we then do is look for consensus across those 12 managers in order to build a 50 stock portfolio, the EAM portfolio, that large cap growth portfolio for Retire Right. And that 50 stock portfolio is weighted based on the consensus of those underlying managers. So for example, if you have 12 large cap growth managers and 8 of them are overweighting Procter & Gamble, for example, versus the Russell 1000 growth index, that then would be a very high weighting within the EAM model that is ultimately delivered to Retire Right, because there's statistical information. These managers are independent of one another. They have different processes of trying to beat the Russell 1000 growth. One might be top down, one is bottom up, one might be momentum based. There's all sorts of, one might be earnings. They all approach the problem. How do I beat the Russell 1000 growth? They all approach that problem in slightly different ways, bringing their own expertise. And they've been selected by Retire Right as good managers. They're good at what they do. So when you look across those 12 managers and you see consensus, that's really important information. That's information that you can actually build a more stable and a more accurate predictive model based on that information. And that's essentially what Ensemble Active Management is doing. And Retire Right, again, we are working with Retire Right. They come to us. They pick managers within large cap growth, within small cap growth. They pick those managers. Every 2 weeks, we deliver to them a portfolio of 50 securities with weights that reflect the consensus overlap between those 12 managers. And that portfolio is one that is essentially an ensemble predictive engine, which has better accuracy and better statistical likelihood of beating the benchmark than any of those underlying independent 12 mutual funds. That, in essence, is Ensemble.
That is incredible, I have to say. And
Yeah.
you said that without breathing.
Sorry. I'll take a breath now.
Now, what is impressive, Mark, I think about the process is that what we are getting are the best alpha positions of this universe of stocks. So they are the ones that are most likely to produce growth and eliminate the betas, which are the performance draggers that every fund has. And as we get along this, we'll have an opportunity perhaps to talk about what we're seeing in some of the performance numbers.
I like the fact that what you just said every 2 weeks. I mean, you come back, and that'll be a continuum. I mean, that's incredible, and I love the way you presented that. Why is what you're doing important to people who are looking to retire?
Working people nearing retirement envision a time to relax, maybe a time to travel, most certainly a time to be stress-free. Achieving this requires financial security. For a defined benefit or pension plan, this means having enough growing assets to keep the promises made to its workers. For a defined contribution plan or the traditional 401k plan, those participants means having the financial security of a plan account that's grown large enough to satisfy their needs and wants. When you can produce superior returns, accumulations are greater for all types of retirement plans and retirement savings. And the Retire-Right funds that we are developing here are the answer to building larger plan accounts and larger total plan assets to fulfill those retirement dreams. John, how is that working, do you think? How do you see that working?
Yeah, so Jim, absolutely. As you think about it, I mean, the objective when you're investing is to maximize alpha, right? That the higher return you get, the better off you're going to be, the better off it accumulates over time. So it really is important to make sure that whatever your investment is producing as much alpha as possible. And, overall, we know the statistics of the actively managed universe has really struggled to meet its mandate of beating that benchmark net of fees. There are lots of statistics out there, but actively managed products are still very popular with advisors, with clients. People don't want to be average. People want to be better than average. And the only way to be better than average is to, take a shot at active management and trust people's ability to pick stocks that are going to outperform. So the idea behind the ensemble is it's not just a good story. I mean, I think it's a really powerful story. It makes sense. I've literally given the pitch, 300 times over the past 3 years to very sophisticated investment professionals, and people really buy into it. They understand it. It makes sense. Ensemble methods is a proven methodology, and it's the first time it's really being applied to the investment world. And that's because we have this replication technology where we can actually extract those alpha engines from those 12 mutual funds on a theoretic, on a real-time basis. But the objective is not just a good story. It's not just tapping into AI and machine learning, but it's really showing that this can produce alpha. And I can say that today, Turing has 14 clients. We produce over 63 portfolios on a biweekly basis, including the portfolios that we produce for Retire-Right. We're just a technology company. We're not an investment company. We work with investment companies like Retire-Right, but we can track the performance of the portfolios that we deliver. And, as I mentioned earlier, it's every 2 weeks. So it's essentially a buy and hold for that 2-week period. I can tell you of the 60 EAM portfolios that are being delivered, they outperform the corresponding, this is as of the end of March, their outperformance versus the benchmark is 78% of the time. I mean, they really are delivering on the message, and the annual average excess return is over 800 basis points. Now it's it's 60 portfolios is only 60. It's a relatively, the longest one has over a 2-year track record, but there are some in there which have, 3 months. So, we have to take everything with a grain of salt. But if you believe the story, which you should, again, ensemble methods is something that has been shown across hundreds of industries to work when it comes to improving predictive engines. Mutual funds are predictive engines. We're extracting them, combining them using consensus and ensemble methods. It should work, and it does work. And at the end of the day, if you really can be generating hundreds of basis points of excess return versus the benchmark, that's a pretty good way of boosting your retirement account.
Interesting. Is there more than one fund, and what is the investment style?
Did we lose Jim?
I don't know. Jim, are you still there? Maybe he'll come back.
He disappeared. So I can tell you that Retire Right has designed 2 investment styles. They have a large cap growth, which tracks the Russell 1000 growth, and they have a small cap growth, which tracks the Russell 2000 growth. So those 2 portfolios, they were put into production about 2 months ago. So they're building a track record. But again, we have 60 portfolios with lots of track records. And the key is that when you build a new EAM portfolio, a couple things. One is they can be highly engineered because you can actually pick your mutual funds to, if you want low beta, if you want high Sharpe ratios, if you want to target turnover, if you want to target, you can really design EAM portfolios. There we go. Hi, Jim.
Hi. Got lost in the Ethernet there.
So you can, they're highly designable. They can be designed very quickly because, once they name the 12 funds, we then can extract from our database really within a few weeks. We can have portfolios into production. And then the other factor is that we can very quickly Retire Right can add other asset classes and other categories of funds as they want to going forward. Obviously, account minimums, you want to make sure that you have enough asset flow before you come out with 12, different asset classes. But theoretically, there's nothing preventing that from happening very quickly when the time is right.
There is a fixed income portion of that, correct? Okay, is that managed by Sawgrass Asset Management?
Yeah, we're negotiating a contract with Sawgrass Asset Management, headquartered out of Jacksonville, Florida, to manage the fixed income portion of the balance fund.
Okay, so why would a retirement plan want to add these funds to its investment lineup?
I think retirement plan sponsors, public and private, want workers, they want their employees to enjoy a happy and secure retirement. Offering an investment option that can achieve that goal ought to be reason enough to add these funds as an investment option. I think that they truly want retirement security for their people. We think we have a way to achieve that for them. And John would agree.
So, yeah, I think there are a couple of key features of the, hang on, my camera went off for a second.
That's okay. We can do this on live stream.
There are a couple of key features that I think are particularly user-friendly about EAM portfolios and about the portfolios that Jim has designed for Retire Right partners. One is that I think the story is a very compelling story, and I think it's a pretty simple story. It's not complex. It taps into machine learning and artificial intelligence in a way that is not, you flip a switch and the machine is picking stocks for you. It's using artificial intelligence and machine learning in a way that actually enhances human stock picking capabilities. So that's a way that we think these EAM portfolios are very accommodating to a retail investors. There's no shorts. It's long only. All of the securities, and I'll cover this later as well, but every security that is within the Retire Right EAM portfolio, if it's a large cap growth portfolio, it is 100% of the securities within the Retire Right portfolio would be a security that's within that relevant benchmark, in this case, the Russell 1000 growth. So it's a very user-friendly portfolio that is developed.
Gotcha. How long have these funds been up and running, and how have they performed?
Let me backtrack just slightly, Mark. There are three funds that we have that we've talked about: a large cap, a small cap, and a balanced fund. They are collective investment trusts, which are somewhat like mutual funds, but available only through a qualified retirement plan. With some pending legislation, we hope they will be available very soon to 403B plans, and quite possibly eventually they'll get into the IRA market that is being discussed in Washington. But these are funds that have not been formally activated as collective funds. We're actually seeking seed money at this moment, and that comes from a lot of places. Perhaps even some of your viewers would like to get in the ground floor, but we're seeking that seed money to begin full operations, the 30 to 50 million per fund. We're moving that direction, but we are running model portfolios, as John's been talking about, with touring for both the large cap and the small cap funds that exactly duplicate the equity management that we will have in each of the three funds. And I think John has shared some of that, but perhaps even could share a bit more on how those funds are performing in the models that we're running.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to mention when we talk about the relative newness of the funds is that we have to remember that the underlying mutual funds that are being used to generate the picks within the EAM portfolio is actually those funds have extensive track records. So we're tapping into all this is public information, by the way. We're tapping into, all the data is public data, but we're tapping into intellectual capital of mutual funds and mutual fund managers that, have been running money, within these mutual fund products for, decades or longer. So the fact that the EAM portfolio is relatively new, is about 2 months old, does not take away from the fact that the 12 underlying funds that are being used to generate the picks within the EAM portfolio actually have extensive track records.
Awesome. And Jim, you mentioned, seed money. How can any of my viewers that are on and listen to this show, who do they need to talk to? Is there a phone number or an address that you could provide, or an email?
They can email me directly at Retire Right Partners LLC, all one word, Retire Right Partners LLC at Outlook. Or certainly give me a call at 708-400-4172. 708-400-4172. That'll get right to me, and I'd be glad to discuss it with them.
Skipped out there. You said Retire Right Partners LLC.
Yes.
And what'd you say after that?
At Outlook.com.
Okay. Just want to make sure that was clear with everybody listening.
Yeah, that'll get to me.
Gotcha. And how much in seed money are you looking for?
For economic feasibility, Mark, we need 30 to 50 million per fund to start. We're going to launch each fund as soon as it hits that target. So we're not going to wait for all three of them to reach that level. As each fund gets to the 30 or 50 million, actually the 50 million for issues that are not important right now, but actually the 50 million applies more to the balanced fund than the two pure equity funds, the large and small cap funds. There we could get going and make it economically reasonable at 30 million.
Okay. Could you tell everybody out there what these funds invest in?
On the equity side, the funds invest only in the stock of U.S.-based companies, and the investment philosophy on the fixed income the fixed income portion of the balanced fund is U.S. dollar-denominated governments, investment-grade corporates, some agency mortgage-backed securities. Will not go below a BBB rating on those, and the amount of that will be strictly limited. But I think, Mark, for us, or behind this question than a simple answer of stocks and bonds, and I think John can share with you the approach of how these are invested in that go deeper than just saying we invest in U.S.-based stocks. We invest in government bonds on the fixed income side.
Yeah, I did touch on it earlier, but it's worth emphasizing the fact that you will not get style drift in any EAM portfolio. And for some, that is extremely important. A lot of times you can invest in a mutual fund. They say they're large cap growth, and you pull back the covers, and they can be international. They might be cash. They might be real estate. Who knows? It is 100% guaranteed that every EAM portfolio is style pure because of the process. When we extract the alpha engine or the predictive engine of each of these mutual funds, it's done by comparing the weight of the securities within each of those 12 mutual funds to the weight of the securities within the benchmark. Any securities that are not in the benchmark are not included in the analysis. Therefore, because of that methodology, the only stocks that can be put into an EAM portfolio are stocks which are part of the benchmark. So for the Russell 1000 growth, the large cap growth, 100% of the stocks, it's a 50 stock portfolio. 100% of those are within the Russell 1000 growth. Same for the small cap growth. 100% of those securities will be names that are contained within the Russell 2000 growth. And again, for a lot of investors, that is an extremely important point that is not often dealt with because it's very hard to find style pure mutual funds.
Wow. I think it's amazing. It's amazing how you've developed this. And, for people to invest in these types of funds, to know that, they can peel it back and see that it's not fluff. It's for real. That's makes people feel really comfortable, that want to put their money into something. So,
Yeah.
How will these funds help shield my participants from steep losses in investing?
Current studies, and there are a lot of them, stress pretty emphatically that employers need to address employee fears, and not concerns, very real fears of market volatility.
Mm-hmm.
I think to that end, we have to help educate employees that avoiding the negative impact of market declines is basically achieved by first increasing value, adding alpha to build reserves that can weather sudden downturns in the market, and then applying predictive analytics to the art of investment management. In simple terms, investors need to achieve a large enough account balance that at 8%, 10%, even a 20% drop in the market will not destroy their retirement dreams. If you have $800,000 and you suddenly are looking at $750,000 because of a market drop, it's not the end of the world for you. If you have built up that plan and a sufficient value that you can weather those storms when they happen. John's got the answer on the insight on the other side of that equation with the application of predictive analytics.
Yeah, I think it's very important to note that the Retire Right EAM models are built to deliver relative outperformance versus a particular benchmark, not absolute performance. So they really are tied to that benchmark. The objective is to, if it's a Russell 1000 growth, to give statistically higher chance of beating that benchmark than you would with a single focus, singly managed mutual fund. So from that perspective, there is, the asset allocation decision of building your equity portfolio is very important, and understanding the risks of, small cap growth versus large cap blend versus large cap growth and value. All of those considerations are absolutely important, because the EAM methodology is not designed to give absolute returns in any market. It's designed to specifically deliver as much excess performance as possible given the market conditions. So again, it does not take away from the fact that asset allocation decisions are still important and are always going to be important.
Yeah, and I think that emphasizes too that this is not a black box solution. This is real analytics and true investing.
Right.
So if I manage a pension plan with some funding issues, doesn't the Secure Act solve my problem? So why should I consider these funds?
I've gotten this and similar questions from a number of defined benefit sponsors. And I think, Mark, that question, however it is phrased, is a bit of misdirection. The Secure Act is not really focused on funding issues for defined benefit plans, except for a select group of MEPs, multiple employer plans. It does little or nothing for the other 98 or 99% of public and private pension plans. I think what questioners are probably confusing in this mix is the promised funding relief in COVID-related stimulus packages. But, and it's a big but, that relief contemplates a 30-year funding. And in a list of circumstances, you can't count on that funding continuing past the next 18 months. Who knows what may happen? And I think even more important, there is absolutely no appetite in Washington for a taxpayer-funded bailout of the pension community. The real answer for me, and I would certainly for Turing, is that the defined benefit plan sponsors probably should be looking at other options to close the funding gap by increasing the absolute value of their plan assets. There was a recent Willis Towers Watson report that declared very flatly that defined benefit plan sponsors should be reassessing their investment strategies and very specifically commit capital to more return-seeking assets. What we are creating here are return-seeking assets, and I think John would probably agree with me on that.
I mean, no question. That is exactly what the EAM and introducing ensemble methods to the investment industry, it's all about. It is to increase the potential for return against the benchmark, for beating the benchmark, for adding alpha against that benchmark, using known predictive analytics, enhancing technology of ensemble methods, using partnerships with Retire Right, responsible for picking the best funds within a particular asset class, combining those two skills together in order to deliver portfolios to the end clients that, theoretically and hopefully over time actually do deliver the performance that we believe ensemble methods can and has to date, but should in the future deliver.
So tell me, fellas, who provides services to the funds?
Well, the Retire Right funds were designed and created by Retire Right partners and are managed by that. As I mentioned, they are collective investment funds for qualified retirement plans and their participants. We're negotiating with Sawgrass Asset Management out of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, to act as sub-advisor to manage the fixed income portion of the balanced fund. Touring Technology is the key partner in the equity side. The trustee and custodian of the fund will be Alta Trust Company, South Dakota Trust Company. Without question, in my mind, Touring is the key player in this. And thank you, John, very much for all that you bring to the table in this process. You're going to be largely responsible for the successes that we're going to have in these funds.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're the intel inside, right? We're just the technology. It's the expertise of Retire Right, their ability to build products. We typically expect or see clients like Retire Right will probably revisit that fund selection generally on an annual basis to make sure that they're still delivering the alpha that we want. We do extensive back testing on behalf of our clients for them to analyze the funds, adding new funds. Do they want to take funds out, put another fund in? That again is typically done on an annual basis. But it's Retire Right's product. We are just the technology that you turn the crank and out comes the answer.
Are there other funds like these?
There are no other SITs, collective investment trusts, mutual funds, or managed accounts that are specifically for the retirement plan markets that uses the EAM technology, the ensemble asset management. The retirement funds are new. They're very unique. They are designed to give plan sponsors and their participants superior performance that will build significant assets for a secure retirement. And there's nothing like it in the market that I'm aware of. And John, I don't know how you might respond to that, but I don't see anything like it.
No, there's absolutely none. Retire Right is the only one out there with this product designed specifically for this market. We do have other clients, as I mentioned. Some are in the process of registering ETFs, which should be available by midsummer. We're working with a money center bank that has developed an index that's going to be used to support a structured note, one of the largest money center banks in the country. Another international money center bank is doing the same thing, and they're doing that for the fixed index annuity marketplace. And Many of our clients are putting their models onto Schwab and Fidelity and TD Ameritrade, making those models available in SMA format to, virtually hundreds of thousands of advisors who can tap into those InvestNet, those types of platforms. But again, our partnership with Retire Right, we're very excited about it. And they do have absolutely unique product and a unique market.
Very, very unique. Is there anything else that you guys can think of that we have not gone over?
I think you've done a good job of covering the basics, things that people need to know.
Yeah, I think the same thing.
Is there a
Hopefully
time
we
frame?
generated some excitement for this out there among your viewing audience.
Is there a time frame, Jim, that this country can expect to have this out there to obviously? You had mentioned, once you get the seed money position, 3 different funds as one seed gets up to where you need it to go between 30 and 50 million, then it will begin. Is that what you're saying?
Quite certainly, I would love to see these up and going in 60 days. That's not going to happen, but we've got the 45 to 60 day time frame after we have the commitment of the seed money, and if we can pull that together in the next 60 to 90 days, we'll see these funds become operational at the end of the summer, early fall.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say, fellas, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I'm excited because this is extremely unique, and it's nice to be a commodity, by the way, because there's a huge market that needs this product out there, and I'm hoping that the problems, this helps resolve a lot of the problems for retirement and the working man who, we need these kinds of things versus, the kind of fluff that people have seen in the past, and they have not performed the way they're supposed to be performing and what people are promised. So I want to just say this to you guys. I want to see you back on my show in the next 6 months. That way we can reevaluate and see the progress of this
Happy
opportunity.
to do that. Looking forward to it.
I am as well.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for being on the show. I'm glad I'm able to interview both of you today collectively, because I think, it's a great 1-2 punch. And I think having somebody on the touring technology side is incredible. And along with Mr. Boyd's, development, what he's created it's a 1-2 punch. And I'm just glad to get you guys out there and everybody in the world can see this thing develop and grow. So thank you again. And God bless you guys. Stay healthy, and looking forward to seeing you in 6 months. And enjoy. I'm going to just say thanks again, and just have a wonderful day for both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark, for having us.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.